What's up, LEGO builders? My LEGO city of Moenia Prime is currently being rebuilt after getting ravaged during the Protectorate War. Thanks to new technology acquired during that conflict, humanity is beginning to build mechs of their own, some of which are being used in the rebuild. But they're few in number, so today I'm opening up the floodgates and adding new mechs to the fleet of construction machines working on my LEGO city to help speed things up. If you're ready, don't forget to open fire on that like button, and let's get building. The first set is one I've actually already built and used in another video. Set number 60324, the mobile crane, is such a simple yet cool build. Many videos ago, I split it in two in order to build a dock crane and hover transport for a Star Wars challenge and had a lot of fun playing around with the winch and hook mechanism. Now I'm once again hoping to get a 2-for-1 vehicle bundle out of this set, starting with the crane section. These vehicles have a different color scheme from the previous construction mechs I built because they belong to a different company. In order to help expedite the process of rebuilding Moenia Prime, multiple construction bids were awarded to building and manufacturing companies. The two biggest going to Behemoth, who was introduced in the last video, and the second to a somewhat new up-and-coming company who, in an effort to establish themselves, have joined in on one of the biggest publicly known building projects in decades. This company's equipment and workers are designated by their bright blue and yellow colors, and while not as established as Behemoth, this company is making waves with their new compact and adaptable construction vehicles and technology. Once tiled off, this piece will act as the top plate for the body of a crane mech. Attaching the 2x2 socket bricks to jumper plates allows them to be securely sandwiched between the top and bottom plates, but still be able to move, giving a good range of motion to the legs. This is definitely going to be one of the smaller mechs I've built, but this new company saw how certain larger construction machines were struggling to navigate the tight spaces of a city like Moenia Prime, so they're focused on smaller mobile machines that still have impressive lifting power. The legs are short and stout since there's no need for the body to be super tall, since the crane's boom and winch can reach so high. In fact, having shorter, thick legs will keep this mech's center of gravity lower to the ground and provide much needed stability when the crane is operating. This is one of the few times I get to work with my favorite color, and I always love getting to build with blue. It's so vibrant and bright, yet also calming and relaxing, which is also why there's so much blue on my channel's logo, thumbnails, and even the very walls of my old studio. Let me know in the comments what color is your favorite to build with and why. The cab with the actual winch and boom mechanisms is pretty solid as is, so I won't change it much. It's simple, but I like that. It's a construction vehicle, not a weapon or a beauty contestant. I also think this will help with the whole premise of the video, which is turning LEGO sets into mechs, not remaking them completely. The cab is a little exposed, so I'm adding an extra windshield to better protect the operator. Though, with that being said, the next vehicle isn't even a mech. I know it's a mech video, but that doesn't mean everything I build needs to have legs. I'm trying to create an entire world, not just some vehicles here, and in a realistic world you need different kinds of vehicles to fill different roles. And one role I knew I had to fill is a dump truck. You can't do any kind of building or demolition without having something that can haul away the junk and bring in fresh materials. I spent a long time thinking about how I could make a dump truck mech, and the only thing I could come up with was some kind of 4 or 6-legged body with a dump body or bed on top, which is basically the Durham mech from the last video, but with a dumper on the back. I feel like I've built that kind of mech quite a bit already. Plus, I have the body of the crane, which I think will make the perfect dump truck body with a little modification. The other reason I decided not to go the mech route here is because a dump truck needs to travel long distances at a decent speed. Wheels move much faster than a bunch of large legs and can support the heavy loads dump trucks carry. So I'm building a nifty little dump bed that should hopefully be able to carry a decent amount of stuff and somehow connect to the crane body. And speaking of that, it's basically all ready to go. There's a long flat bed on the back ready for the dumping portion with 3 hefty wheels on each side. I also left the outriggers in because they look cool and they're fun to play with. The underside of the bed has a bulky hinge that sticks out quite a bit. At first I wasn't sure how to bury this in the body, but when I removed this 6x6 tile, I found a hollow space beneath the perfect depth for the hinge, further cementing my choice to make this dump truck as the right decision. I'm using a combo of blue and yellow tile to represent the company's colors. And since there's a gap between the dump bed and cab, I filled it in with a small wall to stop it from sliding forward and a little spot for a crate. Since its arrival at Moenia Prime, the HLC-1 mobile crane has been one of the main vehicles moving the rebuild forward. Hoping to clear the messes created by the Durhams and other demolition mechs, it's also been instrumental in removing discarded enemy mech remains and other military assets from hard-to-reach locations. The 4 sturdy legs allow it to maneuver easily in tight spaces or sketchy settings, and when the boom is engaged, also act as outriggers, keeping the mech from tipping over. While not the biggest mech out there, it's proving that size isn't everything, and when paired with this dump truck, it can clear a job site faster than a panicked kid pulling chicken out of the freezer after hearing mom pull into the driveway. The dump trucks, while good for really only one purpose, are still vital for clearing out the wreckage and hauling in fresh materials. Built-in outriggers provide stability when being loaded up, and the bed has an extra hinge that can open, ensuring that all of the load can be dumped out. Let me know in the comments if you have a good dump truck nickname. The next set is 60480 Backhoe Loader, and it's actually the original reason I considered doing a part 2 to the construction mech video. This set got released after I made the first one, but it looked so cool that I wanted to do a part 2 just so I could buy it. And now here we are, $30 later, and it's finally in my hands. I do have to build a mech before I can build the actual set, so let's get that out of the way. This is another one of Behemoth's mechs. They're more inclined to build bigger, heavy-duty machines, as seen with the Derm and Hercules, so this one is no different. I'm starting with the legs, which usually help me to get a feel for what I want the build to look like. I'm mostly copying the legs of the Hercules, but changing a few things here and there, so it looks like even though it's a new vehicle, it still belongs to the same company. The reason I change things here and there is actually because of a real-world problem. I own very few pieces in bright light orange, and it's mainly bricks and arches, so the smaller cheese slopes, tile, and other parts great for highlights and panels are scarce, and I basically just have to work with what's available from the construction sets I've been buying. This set in particular has a lot of fun pieces I'm trying to incorporate into the mock because even though this is nowhere near an alt build, I still want to represent the original vehicle elements in the mech when I can. That means building a torso out of tires and encasing it in protective armor made out of the wheel wells. Just like your typical backhoe, this mech needs some sturdy outriggers for when the rear bucket is being used. The operator can turn around to face the back very easily, but the legs can't, so I need something that will prevent the machine from tipping backwards. After a few failed designs, I managed to build 2 smaller legs that can fold up behind the torso when not in use, but are still long enough to reach the ground. To start the cockpit, I built this overly complicated base out of regular and wedge plate. The underside has a hollow space for the top of the torso to connect, and these sides should rest just above the tires on it. Sometimes I overthink when mock building, like trying to come up with the perfect design or know exactly what I'm going to build even before I start it. But thanks in part to the strict schedule of uploading weekly and needing stuff done by a certain day, I've gotten much better at just starting and figuring things out along the way. I've also come to realize that building this way is much more effective because actually building with the pieces, seeing how they connect, helps me visualize what should come next. It's like putting together a giant puzzle. The more pieces you connect, the better you can see what's being built. The original vehicle in this set was a backhoe with a large bucket in the front and a smaller one attached to an arm on the back. I want to capture that same look and vibe with this mech, and it didn't really make sense to have those buckets attached to the arms, so these aren't going to be anything special. I've grown accustomed to making arms with specific weapons or tools fused to the end or holding something. But since this vehicle's primary tools attached to the body, these are free to just pick up and carry anything the operator wishes. Now it's finally time for those buckets. I'm building the actual arm used in the Lego set for the smaller bucket since the mech is so tall, it's going to need something pretty long to reach the ground. I must say I'm impressed with the quality level so far. I've grown accustomed to Lego sets feeling unfinished and skeletal, but that's probably because I've mainly been a Star Wars collector for so many years. Lego does a much better job with their Lego city sets, making them feel more complete and real. The larger front bucket was more of a challenge. It sits lower to the ground on smaller Technic arms, which won't work at all for this mech, so I had to create a large Technic frame that can raise and lower the bucket and connect it to the body. This may not look super practical or functional to some of you, but if that isn't science fiction sometimes, I don't know what is. The multi-use directional digger, or MUD 7, definitely isn't winning any foot races or beauty contests, but as they say, slow and steady wins the race. And this mech is slowly but steadily returning Moenia Prime to its former glory. Used for clearing out smaller structures, digging new pipelines, or filling in craters left by fallen mechs, the operator can dig in front or behind depending on the need, and the arms, while not specialized for anything in particular, can carry larger materials such as pipes or wires that will be laid in the trenches it just dug. Whoever said you fight your greatest battles when no one's watching must have had this next mech in mind because it might have seen more action than any other mech I've built. When I bought the Backhoe set for this video, I was looking at the box and realized LEGO blessed us with possibly one of the greatest side builds of all time. The porta-potty. Whoever was in charge of creating this set must have worked in a construction site, because seeing one of these after a very questionable lunch during a long hot day is like finding water in the desert. It allows you to lay down worries, cares, and a little extra as you promise yourself you'll never eat Taco Bell again. So it's a great addition to any LEGO construction set. This build was so good, I only had to change a few things in order to add the legs and arms. Legs so it can move around from job site to job site, but why arms, you might ask? Because sometimes big jobs require big hands. Bolstered by reinforcements, the fleet of construction mechs is now building up a storm in Moenia Prime, repairing damaged buildings, installing new additions, and building towering skyscrapers. The technology in these new machines has allowed humanity to build on a level never seen before and open the door to future projects previously thought impossible. As As city blocks are finished, statues and reminders of the heroic sacrifices of the citizens and soldiers of the HADF are installed to comfort the mourning and remind humanity of its resilience in the face of adversity, which in the coming months will be tested in a way it hasn't been since the Biowars over a half century ago. That's a wrap for this video, and I will catch you all in the next one, but until then, happy building.